the biggest flaw with that movie is that doesn't fit, like, because of COVID,
It
because of
does
all the
though.
stuff that happened. It got
It
burned. Not really. Not really.
No, it does though, because you literally, because this is the thing, and we literally just watched it, and this is why I feel like it does, is because you watch it and you go, and it's right from the end. She's like, okay, what are you gonna go do? She's like, oh, I'm gonna do. The guy gives her the Avenge Ed. She's got the fucking vest, and boom, the next, like, only because I literally, we just, like, the scene was just on my TV like 10 minutes ago. All of a sudden, she and fucking Steve and Falcon show up to save Vision and
Wanda,
Scarlet Witch in, yeah, where are they, in Prague or wherever the fuck they
Scotland.
are?
But no, it fits into the larger everything. I mean, when that movie released,
Oh
like
yeah,
when it
that was
came
Didn't
out,
fucking
care. Like,
stupid.
that's
yeah,
the movie itself
even earlier.
was fine, and the stuff
I
they
think
put
that
in
was
the end credit works in Phase 4 because
exactly.
of the shows. But I think the film itself just released at the wrong time, and again, part of that was COVID. Like, it's
Yeah, but
unfortunate.
they also, that movie should have been in like phase 3.
Yes,
Like that should have been a blip movie in between Infinity and Endgame. That would
correct.
was when I would have released that as a fun little, hey, look at what she's doing here. It's almost insulting to me that,
I think that's
Yeah,
where, like, the Infinity Saga, like, I'm sure if you asked Feige, he would say, yeah, we really dropped the ball when it came to women until towards the end, because I think that she should have got her own film earlier than she did.
yeah,
And
hell
it
for
just
sure.
would have
yes.
hit so much harder, like you said. Like, I would have loved for it to happen. I mean, even if it happening between Infinity War and Endgame, I would have wanted it before Infinity War. Like, I mean, ideally,
Yeah,
I mean
yeah.
that, like, if we're gonna be wishful about it, let's go all the way wishful and
No,
actually have
exactly.
once.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a Phase 3 probably movie, and maybe even earlier. Um, Although I don't know where I'd put it in Phase 2 if you're going to do it.
Right,
I mean, the opening. See if it comes into Civil War,
I'd
then
say right after
technically,
Civil War, right after Civil War. It's like
yeah.
it
See,
literally it continues right after, because she's on the
Yeah.
run, because she's literally like, they're all fugitives. So
Yep.
it
yeah,
happens right after Civil War. Getting chills
yeah,
just thinking about it. It would have hit so hard. If
yeah.
that had happened.
I mean, it does hit hard in its own way because she's
Yes,
like everything she's going through. She's dead. Like that sucks. When you're watching it
it feels
based
so
on when it
close.
released, you're like, oh well, fuck. It's
Well, we forget though, but it also reminded me though, as we're going into phase 5, we're looking at all these movies and what's coming up. We keep talking about, oh, we don't know where this person is, we don't know where that person is, but there's the entire Red Room,
Mhm.
fugitive army that's out there with, the Crimson Avenger, whatever the fuck his name is,
You
you
know,
know,
the bummer is that
Super
watching
Hopper.
Ultron, right, where Scarlet Witch gives her flashbacks. The Red Room flashbacks in that, I think, were more powerful than they were in the Black Widow movie.
I
Um,
won't disagree with you. I think you're right. Only because they were the first time that we got an idea of the Red Room. I think we already kind of knew that and expected some of that going into Black Widow. So I don't want to say they were less impactful, but they were a little less impactful. That opening scene though of Black. Have you watched it since like the first time it came out?
I
yeah,
have.
it was on my TV like today, actually.
Oh, that's
Right
okay.
now.
Yeah. So we didn't. It's the first time like first time even Christy watched it. She was saying, since we saw it in the theater, we went and saw it, blah, blah, blah. We loved it then, but it's the first time we're watching it. And she was like, oh my God, I forgot about this. I forgot about this. I forgot about this. And there's so much in that movie that I don't want to say forget about, but dude, that opening sequence with the kids and the run, that shit is like, that motherfucker cuts like
Can
as
I
a
say
second
something?
time. Like
Okay,
you
keep
watch it at
going.
you're watching it the first time and you're like, oh, this is great, this is like really cool looking, I'm digging the shit out of it. And then like I was watching it tonight and I was like, oh, this is fucking, look at these kids, like what's happening to them. And then it makes everything else all the more impactful as it's happening throughout the movie and as the story breaks down, that I'm just like, oh, I was so caught up in it's fucking Black Widow and I'm enjoying this movie the first time I watched it. Then when I go back now, I'm like, God damn, this fucking movie works on a couple more different levels than I even really remember it working then. Like it was impactful, but now I'm like, bitch.
So yeah, what I'll say is what I liked about Black Widow was it was for me of all the Marvel films, it was the one that actually made me care about the characters the quickest. Like I literally was like I was invested before even the opening credits like actually start. Like it all starts with like literally like
Yes.
they're on the runway.
Oh fuck
They're
yeah.
like everything's happening. I'm like like they sucked me in quickly, so I was already like I was in. And I think one of the critiques about that film that people would say is that you're getting in a way almost overshadowed by everyone around you. Like, this is supposed to be your movie, Natasha, but we are falling in love with, Super Hopper. We're falling in love with Yelena. I'll probably get her name right. And we're falling in love with, I'm horrible at names, but she was in the Mummy, Rachel Weisz. So
Twice,
it's
yeah.
like,
Melina.
Weisz. So so I don't know. I just feel like the one thing I will say that I'm sure we were all thinking, but I'm just going to say it now, is the one saving like grace to the fact that even though it was released after it probably should have been released, is it did, like you said, set up so much. Yelena was one of the best parts, in my opinion, of Hawkeye. I just talked about the elevator scene where Kate just presses all the buttons in the elevator,
Yeah.
literally
Yes.
like on her way to kill, and I love the way she said she's calling her Kate Bishop. Like she's great, so we got Yelena from that damn movie, and we have yet to see it. Thank God that Black Widow happened, because I think it's just probably going to be a huge part of the ground forces and the Thunderbolts and whatever that
Yeah,
episode.
for sure. And the post credits, the only, like I said, the only issue that I had is that when you have the flashbacks in Ultron, I mean, she's talking about being beat, being
Yeah.
broken down, how she was sterilized, like all that stuff that was like heavy and emotional, doesn't really tie into the
film.
to the Black Widow film. And I think they could have
I'll give you that.
a little more.
I'll give you that. I can be on board with that. I definitely get what you're saying there. That it's that it was a major part of the plot, but it was less of an emotional plot point than it was when Scarlet Witch was fucking with everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
It is also though. It's so much fun now though to watch Infinity War right now. Actually, going back and watching any of these, and I know you've kind of talked about this, Kevin, but going back and watching all these, especially once you already know where everything's going and how it all breaks down and what all of it means, there's so much stuff that's just so much more impactful, but it opens up so many more questions in so many ways. Because like I just said, that part, like we just watched the the Scotland part, all of a sudden you're just like, fuck, we're sitting here fucking around, they're doing this, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that bitch has the power to rip reality apart and like tear at the fabric of space and time, and they've barely hinted at it yet, and we don't realize that that's what she can do because everything hasn't happened for WandaVision and everything else yet.
Yeah.
But now that we all know, it's just like, god damn.
Well, I still like one of my fucking favorite lines in like all of Endgame is when Thanos is like, I don't even know who you are.
Oh yeah.
And she like she had him, dude. Like it was that movie was over right there. And he had to fucking play his biggest card. Like between him and Captain Marvel, like
yeah,
like one of my least favorite scenes in Endgame is like when all the women come together, because it felt so forced, but that's actually not my problem with it. Like the biggest problem I have, and it just drives me batshit crazy, is the way the armor works on Pepper looks so bad. Something about the animation is just not right. Like everything else, it's like that uncanny valley moment where it's just not quite right. And I saw it the first time.
It's not just the animation. It's the way, I can tell you exactly what it is because I had the same feeling.
No,
about
it's
that
the way. No, it's just the way
it's
the mask
way
opens on her face.
But it's because of the way the face sits in the armor.
It doesn't
looks
work.
It looks like, because Gwyneth Paltrow's this skinny little thing, and for some reason it looks like her face is like popping out of the armor. Like the armor doesn't quite fit her face. Like it should be just a little more forward. I feel like if they had given just a little more of a gap, it would have solved that entire thing that you're talking about. I felt this the first time I saw it. I was like,
the instant I saw it, I was watching this movie and everything is perfect. Like Endgame's still my favorite. But like this is the moment where I came out of it for a minute. I was like, fuck, really? And it wasn't like, yeah, it was corny that they had the girl power moment, because it just wasn't very natural. Like most of these women didn't know each other. Like there was a chemistry that you would have had to build to really make it as special as it should have been. But
I
like,
gave 0 fucks. I
fine,
loved it.
yeah, fine. It's fine. It didn't bother me. Like it could have been done better, but whatever. But the what took me out was that fucking mask every single time. I'm like, God. And then it goes on, and like they all kick ass, and like I said, Captain Marvel and Scarlet Witch could have won that thing by themselves.
You know, though,
If he didn't have the fucking the fire to rain.
this is the sad part about the like the collective kind of like hate for Captain Marvel that a lot of people have. I really feel like it's there, and I get it, but so much of it was just the writing in the movie, because I found her incredibly charming and likable in Endgame. Like everything that everybody hated about her, how she's very dry and kind of cold and very still. I'm sorry, hey Peter Parker, like that whole, just the way she delivers it, the way it does, like
Like
it's
that one
very
works
natural.
okay. I just felt like she was the wrong person for the part. Like at the end of the day, like at least for the way they're writing her, it's just not. But like it's like the same kind of feeling that I have about Natalie Portman in Thor: Love and Thunder. Like it's not her bag. If you watch Thor and you watch Thor 2, and the dialogue that she has when she's funny in those is so much better than the stuff where she's supposed to be funny in Thor: Love and Thunder. It's just not
That's
natural. She's not a comedic actress. She's a
she
fucking amazing actress,
she
and
is
she can do comedy, but she's not a comedic actress.
no, exactly. And Taika tried to make her
Yeah.
haha funny,
Mhm.
and she's not haha funny.
No, she's witty funny because she's
Oh,
smart.
incredibly.
Like when she has a smart, witty line in the first two,
Yes.
like her shit lands in the first two Thor movies.
Oh,
Having just like literally just watched both of those in the last 2 weeks. Like she's great. She's fucking amazing. And I just it didn't work for me in Love and Thunder.
Have you guys seen her Lonely Island skits though?
oh, they're fucking
Like on
hilarious.
SNL?
But you have to look at
I
all
haven't
those
seen those.
Lonely Island skits,
All right, Kevin, I'm
because
gonna send them to you.
she's not trying to be funny. They're all serious. Okay, well,
They're yeah, I'll just send them to you guys later. They're like they're musical, right? So it's Amy
yeah,
Sandberg, and she's like, it's yeah. I'm gonna leave it at
they're
that.
fucking hilarious.
They're
I get what you're saying, but
And it could be too that she just doesn't maybe necessarily lend herself to Taika's brand of humor.
she's not a
Because he is
one-liner
over the
person.
top. Yeah. She
That's
doesn't do the zingers like she's
no.
yeah.
what I think what I think happened though is I think that if we were to bring Natalie in to this podcast and ask her like which of the Thor movies was her favorite to be in, she would probably say Love and Thunder, because
Oh
I
fuck
think that
yes.
it was like this was letting her be who she wanted to be, whereas the first two films she was more like she was an employee and she was following the rules, and
It is window
she's like,
dressing.
Have you
and she's like,
actually have you
peace
read
out.
her opinion of being on Love and Thunder?
Actually, I have not. Have you?
Yeah, no, I know I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I was wondering if you had seen something, because I don't know. Like I really don't know. I mean, they got her back, right? Like that's
Yeah.
big, huge step number one. But I don't know if she was like
I
looking
do
to
know
work
that
with
because she
Taika
got
or
the hammer, like that's what like brought her back. Like it was basically,
yeah.
it's like, we're gonna give you a hammer. She's like, okay, let's keep talking. So I think like she got what she wanted basically. But yeah, we'll also follow up with that as well. So we're gonna park that speculation until we get the information.
Yeah, I'd actually be really curious to see something that wasn't just like press for the movie itself. I'd like
Right.
to see something like after the fact of what her what her feelings were on being in it, because it is a very different movie than
Oh yeah.
the first two, especially the second one. The second one is super dark, but better than I remember it. Like I actually didn't hate it. There's still, I'm trying to think what my list here. Like there's actually, I like it better than both of the Iron Man sequels.
Really?
Yeah. All I can tell you, man,
Well, no,
before
actually,
you
no, I'll
start
give
thinking
you
about
that.
your list, is do what I'm doing and just watch them in order and make your list as you go. Because that's what I'm doing. Because before I made it all just 100% off of memory. and
I get
you
what you're
remember the
saying.
things that you like, and you don't remember the movie as a whole.
No, I get
And
that.
so there's definitely some things that are
Oh no, two and
different this
three,
time through.
I get that. Two and three were easier, especially. I mean, forget just where it was in the Marvel universe and what it meant as a Marvel movie. But the first Iron Man was like a masterpiece, and the second two were not.
Well, the problem with Iron Man, and I guess I'll just talk about my list before we officially kick off, since we're already doing it. The problem with Iron Man, and the problem realistically with all three Iron Man movies, is he never has a truly like good villain. The first one is the closest that you have.
Obadiah.
I'll give you that.
Obadiah is good. The people that he has working for him, the whole escaping from the cave, like that is a moment, like that is a defining moment for everything. That's for him, for Marvel, for everything, right? And that's iconic in his own way. Um, but the funny thing is, like, as I've been going through and making my list, like Iron Man is slowly working itself out of the top 10.
Really?
Yeah. Like it's not even my top 3 in phase 1. But I know you know this because you definitely listened to last week's episode, Pete, so I won't bore you with my phase 1 list.
I haven't listened to shit.
But on phase 2, like having now watched anything, Winter Soldier is number 1. Winter Soldier is number 1 on my overall list at this point, having just finished phase 2
I can see
literally
that.
before we started recording tonight. In phase 2, Guardians is number 2, Avengers Age of Ultron is number 3, Ant-Man's at 4, Thor 2, and then Iron Man 3. I was like really surprised. Like the funny thing is going through these and seeing where things fall in the phases is interesting too. Because like in my mind, like the phases were bigger than they were, but they were just 6 movies each for the first 2. Which I mean is a fair amount. I mean we had what 23 movies when Endgame landed, so I mean that's right around the midway mark.
Jesus.
I think phase 3 is actually a little short. I actually had it up. Oh no, phase 3 is pretty long. I'm sorry. It's just one huge phase. Because you have Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, then you have Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, then Endgame, and then Far From Home is actually the capper for phase 3. So yeah, I was thinking phase 3 and phase 4, and for some reason in my head we're on phase 5, but we're not. We're on phase 4. Phase 3 is huge. So that'll be an interesting one to go through. I know there's a lot of movies there that I really like. Like realistically looking at it, almost everything. If I'm guessing what ends up near the bottom, it's probably Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, and Captain Marvel.
I can see that.
And that's not knocking them. Like, I said this last week when I was talking about these movies, like the one that's going to end up at the bottom, and is probably going to end up at the bottom of every list that I make, is The Incredible Hulk, right? Like it, but the thing is, like, I could go back and watch that tomorrow and enjoy watching the whole thing from beginning to end. So when I put something in the bottom of the MCU, for me, it's still a movie that I like. Like that's what makes what they've done over there so impressive. Like when I look at DC, like I don't like the Justice League. It was okay. The Snyder cut was better, but it still was very problematic. I wasn't a BVS fan. Like when everything lynches on your mom's having the same name, I'm like, okay,
Jesus,
yeah,
fuck,
yeah. Like there were problems.
Stop with the DC. Stop with the DC.
Yeah, and
go back to your list.
But yeah, I'm excited to start phase 3. My overall list is Winter Soldier, Guardians, Ultron, Captain America, the First Avenger, Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Avengers, Thor, Iron Man, Thor 2, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, and Incredible Hulk. And I have a feeling, like looking at what's coming up, and I can't say for sure until I get there because I'm really trying to keep this, to the process. But the Iron Mans may end up, in the very bottom half or the bottom third of the of everything so far.
That's interesting. So we decided as a family night we're going to watch it timeline order.
That's an interesting way to watch it. I really grappled with that, whether I wanted to do it in timeline order or not. And I think the only reason that I didn't was because of trying to make the list at the same time.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Are you watching the one shots?
Not well in that timeline order. Yes,
You definitely should. They're interesting. They're funny. They're not required watching.
I think I've watched a couple of them.
There's a good one with Coulson.
Yeah, I think I watched.
There's
the
a little
one.
Bonnie and Clyde one that's a little fun. What's the other one? Well, there's the one I haven't got to it yet, but there's one with Thor and his roommate.
Okay,
that was fucking hilarious. There might even be two of those now. But they're fun. They're like I said, they're not required watching. A couple of them are like 3, 4, 5 minutes, and a couple of them are 10, 11, 12 minutes. So, they're interesting. If you watch them in timeline order, obviously Captain America's first.
Yeah.
Is Captain Marvel second?
I don't think so.
Really?
Actually, there's one that falls before. There's actually, hold on, because I can actually just look it up real quick
on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's because it's got it. I mean, it's
too, right?
And that's the nice thing about Disney Plus. What they did was it's literally just
you've got both.
There.
Like that's how I'm doing the phases, is because not only when you watch and when you go to the phases, it actually puts the one shots in there. So I've been watching the one shots in there too. I'm not putting them in my ratings list, but I've been watching those.
Okay, I'm logging in here. Hold on. Okay, who's watching? So cute. Stella went on and she gave everybody on the little things, like everybody's got their own profile, and she gave everybody like a different friggin' icon or whatever it is. I don't know what they're calling them. Little profile pic, if you will. I'm
Vader in ours.
She gave me Wolverine.
Oh.
Okay, timeline order. Okay, so it goes, it goes Captain America, Agent Carter one shot, Captain Marvel, Iron Man, Iron Man 2. Then we've got the one shot, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Thor's Hammer with Coulson, Thor, the Consultant one shot, then the Avengers. Then we've got Item 47 one shot.
So they don't put Hulk in there.
Hulk is on Disney Plus. Is it?
No, that's true. I did have to watch this, but I think Hulk falls after Iron Man 2, because or in there, because the Consultant one shot is them sending Tony Stark as the Consultant after they've told him they want Iron Man for the Avengers, but they don't want Tony Stark for the Avengers.
Oh yeah.
They want him to just be a consultant, and they send him to piss off Thunderbolt Ross so much that he wants nothing to do with the Avengers.
That's right.
So they can get Hulk. And
then it's Dark World, and then Iron Man 3. Then you've got an All Hail the King one shot with what's his bucket, Ben Kingsley. And I'm gonna guess that one shot is gonna bridge, just like with the background, that one shot's gonna bridge the gap between the end of Iron Man 3 and how he winds up in whatever it's called, the place in Shang-Chi.
Actually, yeah, it does. I don't know that they intended that back then. But it definitely, like, the way the one shot plays out is somebody is doing a documentary interview for about him, and it turns out he's with the 10 Rings, and he's like, yeah, we're effectively, they're like, we're kind of pissed right now, dude, so you're coming with us.
Then Winter Soldier, Guardians, all the Groot one shots, of which I've watched. They're cute, but I think we'll probably wind up skipping them actually with here. Then we got Ultron, Ant-Man, Civil War, Black Widow, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Ragnarok, Ant-Man and Wasp, then Infinity War, Endgame. We may, because once you get once you leave Endgame, it's all the series.
Yeah, it starts to get pretty big there. So I'm curious.
Until you hit Shang-Chi, and then the Eternals, and then Hawkeye and Moon Knight, and then She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel. Welcome to the All Pop No Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Pete, and we've got Kevin.
Hey.
We've got Andrew. We are a pop culture center podcast, most featuring on streaming television, movies, video games sometimes. Oh, yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to we're just going to jump right into it. I've had a very long week. The norovirus stomach flu ran through my house, so I haven't had a lot of sleep. Everybody's been, the youngest brought it home from school, and she got half of her class, and then my wife got it, then I got it, and finally the 15-year-old got it. So we're all just like coming out of it this weekend. So, yeah. I talked about this a while ago, and Andrew, you don't have a Switch, but one of my first video game loves was this old Genesis game. I think we talked about this way back in the day, early on in the episodes, because I remember Opie and Alex were commented that they knew I was going to come with some weird, obscure shit that nobody had ever heard of. So there's a game for the Sega Genesis called Target Earth. Okay, it's a Japanese import of a game called Mobile Suit Lanos, and so it's Switch just released their little Genesis emulator, and this was in the second round of games. So I was so happy because it's got a really fun story. It's like a goddamn anime. It's all about a group of people who left Earth, explorers that left to the deep reaches of space, and Earth then technology advanced and blah 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 blah. And centuries later, these first explorers finally come back after having evolved in deep space and kind of become these conqueror type people after having interfaced with this other biotechnological organism, and they come back to invade Earth, and you go and you battle them around in your little mobile suit. But it's awesome because the cheat code still works. You have invincibility mode, so I don't have to go back and play through an entire goddamn Genesis game that was actually rated. I started looking some information up on it. It's rated an incredibly hard game for Sega Genesis. Not quite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade level, but it's a hard game. There's a few levels that are real tricky that you just fuck yourself up if you don't, and it's got an unforgiving continue system. So yeah, it was a tough one, but I'm nerding out because that's on there, and it's just a fun game for me. And if you like anime and almost a Gundam-esque kind of deal and feel to it, it's got that vibe. And it's granted, it's 16-bit graphics now and that playability, so it's a little floating icon, but it still looks pretty dope, and you can tell it's a little suit. But I always loved it because the bad guys always had all their ships, always had this very Zentradi feel to them. They're long and tubular ships. They're very bulbous, but they have different things to them. But it instantly you see them and you're like, oh, it's the fucking Zentradi.
Nice.
And so it was really, really cool. So I was super excited to see that. But because we were sick and down, I watched a couple of movies with the youngest. One that I was promising her we watched, and another one that I introduced her to and has become one of her favorites. So we'll start with the one that I introduced her to, that has become one of her favorites now. So I'll set the afternoon. We watched Old, which is what we'll talk about in a moment. And then after that, I was like, well, fuck it. We've watched this. The other two are upstairs sick. We'll bang another one out that you've never seen. It's right here. You ever heard of Beetlejuice? No, what's Beetlejuice? All right, so that movie is such an amazing 90 minutes of fucking Tim Burton horror comedy. it's funny to even go back to even that early. He has that style and that look with the animation, like that you see later on in Nightmare Before Christmas and Corpse Bride and all those. Um, the sandworms look remarkably like half the shit. Like that animate that style, it's there. It's Tim Burton. Like it is. And looking back now, you're like, oh shit, yeah, this is like it's totally fucking Tim Burton. Because you wouldn't actually. Other than that, there isn't a ton of it that screams Tim Burton today. Like it's dark, but it's not super dark. You know, she of course absolutely loved the parts where they get possessed. The fucking that dinner party scene is classic fucking cinema history. That shit is hilarious. Um, yeah, so that was a fun experience. She really liked it, so that made me incredibly happy. So if you've never watched Beetlejuice and you're listening to this, I don't know, where how fucking old you are if you lived under a rock. Or if you just want to revisit something really cool, go back and watch Beetlejuice. Um, the other thing we watched too. Oh, this is a good one. We banged this one out, which she had never seen. It was fun because I got to convince her to watch a couple of movies that normally she's like, no, I don't want to watch that. That looks stupid. We watched fucking Bill and Ted's.
The original?
The original.
That's kind of like, I know it's
Fuck.
cheesy now, but fuck yeah. I mean, that's a must watch. Like, I think everybody, like, I love Bill and Ted's.
There is only so I've started looking, at some of these movies from our past and our youth with a more critical eye as to like things that just don't fly today. In this entire movie, there's actually, from what I observed, only one joke that has not aged well, that gets bad. Because there's the joke where when they when Bill realizes Ted's not dead after he falls down
It's when
the
they jump
stairs
back
in
and
suit
they're like,
armor. They jump back, they hug each other, they jump back in their bag,
okay,
and you're
yeah,
like, oh, like okay, but
yeah.
it's like that's it. And not that that's good, but that's for the time period and what that could have been. It was so funny because the entire time my 10-year-old kept going, oh my god, they're so high, look at them.
They're not though. They're just dumb.
That's what I said. I kept going, honey, I swear to you, these guys are not high. They're not on drugs. They're just those kind of people. That's all they are. But and I want to save, so yeah, go watch Bill and Ted's. I actually want to save that because I did have see if this show idea in in utero. We should do a show that like just examines all our favorite time travel movies and like how well they stand up and like how well the paradoxes play themselves out. You know what I mean? Because like almost every movie's not just for fun. Anyway, so that's a show idea. Write it down. Somebody make a note. We should do that sometime. Um, yeah. So watch Bill and Ted's, and then so we watched Old, which you had talked about, Kevin, because I had asked if this was kind of appropriate for a 10-year-old to watch, and she's watched Stranger Things season 4, so I can say yes. There is nothing in this at all that is out of bounds.
You got like side
At
boob
all.
at one point, and that was about it.
It wasn't even.
Like that's.
I don't that honestly that even for, I mean, the 15-year-old's different now. Just at age, like what we'll do. That's more of just an embarrassment thing, and it makes her feel
Yeah.
awkward if like a sex scene comes on. Like I'm like, whatever, this is what it is, as long as it's not graphic. Stella's still just too young for that, for just to see depictions of that. But nudity in and of itself, when it's part of the story and it's just nudity, I really don't care about. Like, and there are very few movies that are like that she would be watching fucking anyway. But that doesn't bother me because it's just a fucking boob. Even if we were watching something that it came on the screen, like whatever, right? Now it's a boob shaking from some dude simulating getting ran from behind, then no, I don't really want her to watch that. But it overall, like there's the one part that we all laughed because there's the part where the girl's crawling through the tunnel and she basically fucking Chrissy crumbles. Is what we call that. She breaks and like heals like instantaneously because they're in the rock. so they're aging and healing exponentially.
Yeah.
So you talked about it. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying about the fact that they would not um whatchamacallit, that nobody would believe them because just all of a sudden these fucking 50-year-old people rolled up and were like, hey, we were six like
It's
fucking 24
eh,
hours. I get
it's
that,
just
but you know,
everything about that scene. Every
I
single
know,
thing.
but
Like the girl that is in
they
charge of shit that's so brilliant that like these kids show up and then she just goes sits in the corner. She's like, fuck. Like, no, dude, you're a fucking genius running this like massive like conspiracy. You wouldn't just be like, you know what? I can deal with this. Like, it
yeah, I mean,
just gives up. Like, it's so
well,
bad.
which exactly, but I think that is part of the entire concept of how that journal suddenly ties everything into a neat little bow when she gives it to the police officer that they met as kids in the beginning of the fucking movie. Um, the baby thing was very interesting. Like it made sense. Like how um it was all it just the fucking movie was just trash. Like I can't. It was like okay. So for instance, this was the one that really got me more than anything, more than anything in the goddamn movie at all. Okay, well actually it's a tie. The cantaloupe-sized tumor that they excise from her with a pocket knife, regardless of that fucking Wolverine-esque healing factor that everyone has on this fucking beach, was ridiculous, bro. The act, like, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. With like that was just way too much to handle. And then when I'm forgetting the actor's name, but he's a great actor. He's been in a ton of shit. He was the bad evil Duke in fucking
Rufus
Knight's
Sewell.
Tale. Rufus Sewell, thank you. When he's like attacking dude, and dude just keeps like ah ah and falling on the ground, and it's just a pocket knife. I'm like, bro, that dude's like age wise like 75, 80 years old. Just fucking kick him in his hip. Like he's gonna go down. Yeah, it might heal, but like what are you doing? Like he doesn't try to I'm like, come on. And like it's a human I don't know. That part was just ridiculous. um this movie was such a cool fucking concept. Now that I watched it, like it's you watch the credits, it's based on a graphic novel called Sandcastles, or like The Sandcastle. um I'm hunting down a paperback copy just because I like hardbound books, but they're so bulky and they're hard to keep around. um and I have enough of them,
You
so
can get a shelf for those. They're called bookshelves.
I know, but that's the problem, I have too many of them. uh so I really want to read that, to read the source material, um to kind of see where it came from. The story wasn't bad, it just that there were holes like that at the end. Was really like, and for a Shyamalan movie, the twist wasn't that twisty. Like even before you even before you told you spoilered it, thank you anyway. Like it's going to end up okay. There's going to be some sort of thing, and it's like, oh, it's the coral.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, like they don't ever get into is like, okay, so if everybody that goes in there is trapped, how do they go get the shit that's left behind that they have to research? And so if they needed that tumor, right, to research what happened to that tumor and how whatever, how do they get it before it decays? Without anybody seeing them because they have one day to do it, or
Yeah.
less.
Well, that's the thing. But that's the other thing, though. In theory, with what they're talking about, and this again, just a little thing, and I know it's part of it's for film, like magic, if you will. But if you took a tumor, even that size, out of someone's body, cut off from blood supply, all of a sudden, like that cantaloupe would have been shrinking to the size of a lemon just from dehydration in their hands on screen as they moved it. If we're talking about the way time actually passes, like like there were kind of little things like that where just because they made such a big fucking deal out of it, and I know there were other little things that did. I don't want to say, well, no, and they cleverly explained it away, like the hair. Well, the hair is dead hair cells, so you don't know. You know, I it was just bad. Like the setups, even with it, were bad. Like with the we've got all this food. Oh, that's a lot more food than we're gonna need. Kids get hungry. You know, in his M Night Shyamalan fucking his cameo for every movie, he's the driver slash the lookout guy. I'm like boring. Yeah, don't. Stella fucking loved it. She absolutely loved it, which was fine because she didn't. She's at the age where she does pick up on some subtext and subtlety and stuff, but there's still with a movie like that, especially for her. Um, it's very much like the story is still ABC, and she's processing what's happening, and it's weird shit
Well, and
that's
then there's
going
the
on.
whole thing about how these kids were, effectively what, 8 and 11 or whatever, but
Uh,
then like they went off and banged in the back alley so she could get pregnant. Uh, but they're like not old enough. Like even if the body's aging that fast, you're like it just it just
well, no,
doesn't
because
make sense.
in theory, but that's the thing though. In theory, they would have gone through puberty in a matter of like 4.5 hours.
Sure, but there's a certain level of knowledge that you have to get, plus the time to do said act. You know, like I just it didn't. It was a bit of a stretch
look at
on top
Mister
of all the other stretches.
Look at Mister Amazing Lover the first time he had sex. It's a
Yeah.
mighty big call you're making there, Kevin. Uh, yeah, no, the movie's just crap. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can't. I found myself like I tried to want to like it because I could tell Stella was enjoying it, so I knew I was gonna have to watch it at least a couple fucking more times. So I kept trying to find something, and the only thing I have is that it's not as bad as, but it will almost become like a Watch the Room kind of deal, where like because my wife and other daughter haven't seen it yet, so I'm like, okay, you know what? Stella's here. We'll put it on. Yeah, we'll watch it, and I can show them, and they
And
can,
then discuss it afterwards. Yeah.
and they can be like, "Oh my god, that was fucking horrible." Like, there's just so much of that movie that was just like weirdly bad. Like, like I didn't, and they make the joke. They like played on the whole black don't crack kind of joke in there because the two black people that are on the island that you meet stay basically looking the same while everybody else kind of ages a little bit the entire time. But yeah, she goes out in the seizures, and that was a weird one. And he's there, and he's got the weird blood thing, and like forget not aging, like he just didn't change appearance. Like there was nothing. Like it, I don't know. His whole character was cool. I just didn't think they know what they wanted to do with it the right way. Like it was just weird, some of it, which was sad because it this movie just never takes off. It never really gets going anywhere
Yeah.
good, and it just pushes towards an end point, and you don't really care when you get there. Like there's I don't I mean, obviously time is of the essence, but I don't think they built off enough for you to actually give a shit about these people. At
Yeah.
least
There's
at
there's
least
not
for
a
an
single
adult.
character that you care about. There's
Yeah,
not a single one that you identify with or
exactly.
anything.
Like it's been given a PG-13 rating. Um, for I'm guessing it's just language and violence and some like scary images. Like I didn't look at the green card to see what it was, but I would say like this is concerned media. I would let a kid 10 years old, because I let Stella's 10 and she's a very immature 10, and she was like, it was not scary. There's it could bring up some interesting questions, depending on what your kid asks about certain things. But it's not it's not like a bad movie. You just be forewarned, it's shit. Like it just so that's my review of Old. Who's
So
next? Who wants to go? Let's do this
Andrew
thing.
should go. He hasn't had the chance to chime in because Old was garbage.
Yeah. Oh God.
I think defending the indefensible is a fool's errand. I refuse to be a fool. So I actually watched at the I'm not going to talk about it, but at the strong recommendation by Kevin to watch Jojo Rabbit. So I actually watched that today, and I enjoyed it. But we're going to save talking about that
I
damn
will
good
watch
film
JoJo.
for the next episode. What I will say though is I think lately, if you guys have been paying attention, I haven't been the biggest like supporter, if you will, of Taika Waititi. I've kind of described
Yeah,
him as a bit overrated, but after seeing this film, and I think one thing that I'll always say about myself, and if you know me, I think you'll probably agree, is I'm willing to shift my opinion. I'm not
yeah.
someone who is wedded to like clinging to an idea. If you show me some new information, I'll absolutely synthesize it. And I gotta say, he
Dude,
knocked me out of the park.
I remember that entire conversation we had about Korean people, and you totally came around. So I think it's great.
You know, the barbecue, like once I had that barbecue, it was a wrap. I I was like, you know what?
Korean barbecue is the shit.
It's
Um,
amazing.
No,
the
so
thing
Taika,
about
you can't.
Taika, yeah, I need to watch Our Flag Means Death on HBO because I've heard
Oh,
amazing things about that.
okay.
Um,
Let
but
me
I
because
haven't
I
watched any
love
of it yet.
that. I love that. I remember talking about it on the show. I will say this about measure your expectations because yes, Taika is all over it. But if you don't like Reese Darby, you're gonna hate this fucking
No,
show to
I
hell.
don't have a problem with Restarby.
Okay,
I have no
so
problem with Restarby.
it's almost. Oh, there is one other thing I want to talk about that I watched, but I can wait till I understand. But just because this is in line with what you were saying, um, it almost feels very Kids in the Hall in some ways. Like it's very fun. You're gonna like it, but it is definitely a let's just call it a British Commonwealth comedy. Like it's that humor. It's educated by that. Like you could say it's Australian, New Zealand, Canadian, British. There's a little bit of American in there influence, but it's the cast is fucking hilarious. Everybody, you're gonna watch that. Definitely watch that. But yes, please, Andrew and Kevin, go ahead, continue. God damn it.
So instead, I watched something else, and I'm actually hoping that I maybe say some things that trigger people and get them to like throw tomatoes at me through the internet. So I watched the first episode of The Sandman, and I understand, like I've heard the name Neil Gaiman, and whenever I've expressed any kind of ignorance around that name, I can feel the judgment. You're like, you don't know who Neil Gaiman is?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
are you, where's your card? I'm taking it. Like,
Admittedly, I'm the same boat. Like I know of Neil Gaiman. I haven't
Same.
read any of his. I've never read Sandman. Like I know who he is, and as a matter of fact, I watched at least the initial first couple of bits of his masterclass on storytelling on the masterclass website.
nice.
Um, he's, I mean, I understand who he is, like in the pantheon of literature and
As a
things like
matter of
that.
fact,
He's a
Kevin,
big
break it
deal.
down because I want to be educated because it'll help me even talk about my experience with this episode. Who the fuck is Neil Gaiman? Just break it down for
He's
all of us.
he's a fantasy storyteller, and more importantly, what he is known for, and what he does on on the kind of epic level is world building and storytelling, right? So, and you see that in Sandman, like in that first episode, you get just how huge the scope of this thing is, right? Like your main character in Sandman is Dream, right? Like he's um
Or Morpheus, which is
and I
confusing as fuck. Because he has
right,
dreams. Like what? Okay, keep
yeah.
going.
Um, and I may have only watched the first episode or two episodes. I can't remember. But I know you're going to get in. You're going to meet what amounts to the devil. You're going to meet
Yes.
all these other characters. Um, and I think based on our conversation in the chat, I think I probably liked the first episode more than you did.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's beautiful. I think it's creative. The dude's a little weird for me, but I think it fits the character. Um, so I'm definitely into watching the rest, but I'm not familiar with the source material. So everything I'm taking in, I'm taking in 100% at face value of what I'm watching. Which,
So sorry.
on from the aspect of people that have watched it, all the people that I know that have read the comic, generally speaking, the praise is very high. That it is very
Correct.
much accurate to the source material. So
Yes.
there's that.
Yes. So basically what I like to do is I market test. So I shared something about, the show. And then I said, but to be honest, I pieced out after episode 1. Yo, the comments were like, what? Are you crazy? Like, it was literally like comment, comment, comment. And one person was like, Andrew, I'm with you. But everyone else was like, nah, dude, like, you're tripping. And then one person even responded to me. So I respond, I'm like, okay, you know what, guys? Like, I'm gonna reconsider my position because everyone who's commenting here, like, I actually like respect your gangster. Like, I think you have good opinions. So I'm gonna give it 2 more episodes. And then one person replied, and she's like, yeah, actually, when I saw it, I was like, what the fuck too? But now I like it. So basically, I'm just kind of like, I'm having trouble keeping up. You bring in Tywin Lannister, who is the shit. I'll watch him in anything, and then he's done after the first episode. Fuck you guys. Like, I was just like, no. And then yeah, part of me is a bit like, okay, so I'm feeling some kind of way because I felt judged for not knowing who Neil Gaiman is. So I'm already like prejudiced against your damn show. So, but now, like, fine, I'm gonna like, I do not like being, you guys know this. I don't like being wrong. So basically, I'm going to like, buckle up or whatever you call it. Like, just I'm gonna watch this shit and find the good.
Well,
And
I
if after
think
3 episodes I can't, then I'll die on that.
exactly as I was going to say. I think you got to follow the 3 episode rule with something
Yeah.
that's like this big in like the cultural like zeitgeist that
Yeah.
people are seeing right now. I think you've got to give it the 3. And if you don't like it, then by all obviously you should stop watching it. Like if you don't like it, then it's not worth it to watch. But if in that 3 episodes you start to turn and you start to take in the things that you're enjoying more, I think it's worth it. But you got to get there.
Yeah. Like even David S. Goyer, the one I brought up on the last show, like he's a writer on this. I'm just kind of like, okay, dude, like, okay, you did like, I think he did Blade. I think
Yeah.
he worked on a Man of Steel, but he also worked on BVS. You know what I'm saying? So it's like his track record. Again, he said, I'm gonna bring it up. Marvel, you're on notice. Okay, when
I
you say
think
dumb shit like
Goyer
that,
did Goyer come from the comics?
yeah, I think
Like,
he's got a lot. As a matter of fact, I think he even did Dark City, man. Let me read up on this. He is actually an accomplished dude.
yeah.
Okay,
Which
yeah,
to the point, actually, like
Dark City.
I'll allow if you write a
The whole
bunch of
Martha thing was
shit,
his.
then fuck them.
What'd you
But
say?
like if you,
I said the whole Martha thing was his.
Oh yeah, it was
uh,
actually.
but I think if if you write a bunch of stuff, like if you write a ton of stuff, you're gonna have a miss. Like that's how it goes.
Fair. No,
So I
You
can
better,
allow that,
God
but
damn it.
no,
I mean,
no.
it's
Okay, yeah, I'm in. I'm just it's just funny though because again, like I just can't wait for Heated Jumper, dude. So I can't wait because like again, I probably lost so much love from anyone who knows this shit and is watching this podcast. I'm like, fuck you, Andrew. Like, so it's like, no, but hear me out. I'm just thinking out loud. Okay, I'm keeping it real, and I'm saying I didn't get the first episode. I almost pieced out, but now I'm going to go back and just find out what this is about because I'm just kind of like, there's like crows and like what's happening here, and I'm pretty patient. You guys know I'm pretty. Well, actually, I'm not that patient, but like anyway, yeah, I'm so this is part 1. I'm just planting the seed to talk about fucking what's this show called again? Sandman. And then I'm gonna come back and tell you about episodes 2 and 3, and we'll keep going. Because I think I haven't even seen Gwendolyn Christie. I like her too, so I think that she's probably an episode. Well, she's
and
definitely
she's the
she's a
devil. I
devil or
think.
some shit.
Yeah.
See, I'm very interested in this. I can't remember. I feel like I read this a long time ago. I don't remember if I did or I didn't. I know it's very beloved to a lot of
Oh, yeah.
people.
Mhm.
It just didn't make that much of an impression on me, which maybe is why I don't remember reading it. Or maybe I didn't read it and I just I don't know. And I'm sure if I posted it online, Andrew, those same people that came at you would be like, you don't remember reading it? I some gatekeeping like that with some of that stuff kind of annoys me a little bit, because it really fucks up fandoms, and it makes them like unbearable. I hate the word toxic. Toxic is what it is, but it's just unbearable to be around when you're on social media and you want to discuss stuff with people. And so, and you're like, okay, this is, it doesn't have to be all gushy gushy and lovey dovey, but people just get like real like, if you don't know this, then why do you know this? Then why do you know? And it's like, bro, because I don't. I would rather one person go, dude, you gotta watch this. You'll love this.
Yeah, celebrate, be positive with it.
Like
Yeah.
like oh my god, you haven't seen this? You have to.
Yes.
It's go watch this. You'll read this. You'll fucking love this. Like, encourage your fandom.
Or you
Don't
find something that that they would like say, what, I think you would like this aspect of it, like
Yeah.
sell them. I try to sell people on shit, and it's cool, it's exciting, because then you get, that's one more person you get to talk about the thing with, and because fandom does create bonds, like it just does, man. So
Mhm.
I think it's like, it's
Sure.
amazing. One last thing I want to say about the show before we move on is, I will say props, because they've been trying to adapt the Sandman comic to like film since 19 motherfucking one. Okay, it was in development hell in 2013. Joe Gordon-Levitt was attached to star and direct, but then he basically pieced out because he had like disagreements with the creatives. And apparently, someone else wrote a script apparently, but they were like, you know what, I want no parts of this, because this is going to be better as a series. So I think that this series actually is an example of when development goes right, and to your point, Kevin, and everyone else also that I've been reading about, everyone who likes the source material is saying this is actually really damn faithful. So I think that's, I'm getting a chill now. I think I love when things go right. So, but I just feel like, what, maybe this isn't for me, but I'm just surprised that, one more thing. Keep thinking. Okay, let me finish. Okay. This might be not for me, but everyone else who I likes it too. So maybe I should just give it a longer chance. Like even Lisa Hayes from Robosex, she likes it. Hey, hi Lisa. Also, apparently this is part of the DC universe. So like apparently like this exists in the world of like Superman and Batman, or at least Constantine or whatever. Like, does anybody here know about how that's all connected? Because apparently the series stays away from that shit, because they're like,
Well,
we want no parts of dumpster fire.
Constantine is in it, but it's not John Constantine. It's
Oh, okay,
Joanna Constantine, or it's a
Yeah,
female character.
you're right.
But it's in the, is it Vertigo?
it's
Is
Vertigo.
that who-
Yeah, it was Vertigo. I'm almost 100% positive it's in the Vertigo imprint, because Dark Horse was its own separate comics group, wasn't it? That wasn't Marvel or DC affiliated. Like, Vertigo was a DC imprint. Like, it was their alternative little
I think it
goofball
was
thing.
Vertigo.
Yeah. So it exists in the greater DC universe, if you will, but it's not like Constantine exists inside the same universe that Batman and Superman and all those guys do. This does not. This is like I don't even know what to equate it to with Marvel.
But I think with Vertigo, like, even though it was a separate thing, like, there's always a way for Vertigo to cross over to
Probably. Well, I
um,
mean,
DC.
there's somebody out there that could write away. That's the beautiful thing about any of this, and this is what annoys me when people are like, "Oh, they couldn't make this work. Nobody could make this work," or "Oh, this can't happen like this." Yes, it can. Somebody just needs to write it.
You guys know
Somebody
what?
just needs to find a good way to write it.
You guys know what? You guys, I'm that dude. So basically, I do see Vertigo here, but the film was set to be produced by New Line as part of a slate of films based on properties published under DC's Vertigo imprint, separated from the DCEU. But when the book was written between 89 and 96, it says here it's an American comic book written by Neil Gaiman and published by DC Comics from 89 to 96. So I don't know if Vertigo existed back in the 80s, but
no, it came out on Vertigo. That's the thing. Like, so those comic imprints like that, it was published by Vertigo. That's kind of like that's like a Columbia Records release of a Roughneck Studios production of.
All right, but it was founded in 1993. Vertigo. I'm looking that up now. So that was after the comic was made. So it was part of the main DC line. Just keeping it real for the listeners.
No, that's good. That's yeah. I didn't really, I don't remember the timeline being like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So, I mean, this would be cool because this would be the supernatural world, and build Constantine in. Did either of you ever watch the Constantine show?
I
Just the
watched.
movie, not the show.
Well, no, I watched him on Legends of Tomorrow, actually. But I didn't watch the show. Although was the show Matt Ryan also?
I think so. I could look. I enjoyed it when it was on. It was okay. It was pretty good. I think that that's a character that I really, really want to see done justice. Like, to me, Constantine is. I enjoyed the Keanu Reeves Constantine, but as its own separate thing, right?
Yeah.
It has the best portrayal of the devil ever. In my favorite ever is Peter Stormare as the devil at the end of the, like, I love, don't get me wrong, I love fucking Al Pacino in,
Oh my god,
like,
Devil's Advocate.
Devil's Advocate is fucking amazing. I love it when we've seen it. There's something about Peter Stormare in this as the devil that's just fucking, he's amazing. I chills every time in like a good fun, like, yes, this part's finally at this fucking movie. Tilda Swinton's great in that too. Anyway,
Yes.
I really want like a good Constantine, fucking like Constantine. That was the thing that killed me, is that Constantine, if you really ever read any of the Hellblazer comics and like what that's about and all that, that shit was only on TV because like Lucifer was going to be on TV, and it was a fun time for, like, Supernatural was in like its probably 10th season at that point, or something like that. So like shows like that were kind of big at the time, so that's why that could be on primetime. Constantine, the character, the series, the source material that it's involved in, that is that should have been an HBO Max series. That shit should have been, it's a horror comic in a lot of, I mean, that's really what it was. Like, it totally needs to be written that way, and that needs to be on TV. That I would be on board with. Like, that's one of those, like, okay, DC, let's start there. Start right there. Just start at a place that nobody expects you to start. Reboot Constantine, give us the horror part of it, this dark entity of a world first, and then bring us and use that as a way to reboot in.
I agree. And props, I mean, shout out to Sarah, one of the people out there who loves Constantine. So just hopefully you don't get out.
Oh, that is
okay, cool. Sarah, hi Sarah. I know you love Constantine, so you're probably like loving the fact we're talking about this right now. Anyway, just want to say hi.
And if I get anything wrong, because I talk out of my ass a lot, because I think I know things that are just like not really complete things, but I talk like I know them, please feel free to correct me in the comments or on Facebook.
But Pete, they did go to Vertigo in issue 45. So you were actually like, it started on DC, but then they started from 45 onto Vertigo. So
was this the first one on the Vertigo imprint?
That it might have been.
I feel like
you're right.
Was.
It like they moved it and it launched Vertigo, because I think it was one of those things where it also then took a different, like a darker turn. Because I know Vertigo, like, that was their big deal. Was Vertigo was like, these are the books that aren't going to be on the DC main like level, because they're going to be more artsy and like.
I can read it. Vertigo's purpose was to publish comics with adult content such as nudity, drug use, profanity, and graphic violence that did not fit the restrictions of DC's main line, thus allowing more creative freedom. And basically, its titles consisted of company-owned products like Sandman, Hellblazer, and Preacher, Why the Last Man, and Fables. So
okay, so Preacher has become a relatively successful series on TV.
Well, it only made it 2 seasons, didn't it?
That's relatively successful at this point when you really think about it. Like there's, if they wanted to tell more stories, they'll find an outlet for it, because it made enough. But 2 seasons for a show now, with the way people's spans are, that's fucking bangarang. Like, really, like, yeah, no, Preacher supposedly did pretty good. And Why is it Last Man? This is called The Last Man. That got some props. There's an adaptation of that.
Yeah, that got totally boned by the fact that it took them. Well, the problem with that, because I got this bit of education, was not that the show was not good. Although it waffled a little bit in ratings and opinions and stuff, But the issue that they had is they cast so many named actors, and it took them so long to make
Oh yeah.
that by the time the first season was done filming, everybody's contracts were up.
Oh,
So to renew the whole cast would have cost them a ton of money. Yeah, so it was all about money.
okay.
If they had filmed it sooner, then they could have done a second season, kept everybody on for their contracts, and tried to recoup some of that money. But it was too financially unsound for them to make a second season, because they would have had to re-sign everybody potentially at more money than even than they were paying them for the first season. Because I think it took 10 years to make or something crazy like that with the cast that they hired. So
Ugh. I didn't
Yeah.
realize. I knew it was fraught with challenges getting it made,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize it was. Oh, good lord. Yeah. So where were we?
I think we're ready to go to Mr. Kevy Kev.
If we're going,
yeah, mine will be short. I've been watching Ted Lasso with the family. I talked about that last week with two of my sons. One of them's kind of a pain in the ass, so he doesn't watch everything we watch. But we've been watching. I'm not gonna lie, he's a pain in the ass. He knows it. I tell him to his face. But he's also the one I play football with, so it's cool. But we've been watching Lost in Space, so we're in season 2 of that, almost on season 2. And so I was flipping. Go ahead.
No, so you're how many seasons of that? There's 3, right?
I think
Or was it the 4th?
4.
It's
Wow.
because I know this last
it
season
ends
just
soon.
came out.
Yeah.
The last season that just came out, I haven't watched it yet. We tell me when you're done or when you're close. When do you guys think you'll be done?
Are you telling me to tell me when I'm close? Don't be that guy.
Sorry.
Jesus, man.
Woo.
I'm gonna just keep tossing those
that's a joke for the
softballs out there
adults.
for you. Well, now, how long do you think until you guys are done with the series? Because we can discuss that
a couple weeks. I got to see to check how many seasons there are, because we're almost done with season 2. And I think I fell off
that show.
But I thought there was 4 seasons. What's the
like
show?
this 4th? Yeah, I love this show. COVID.
There's only 3 seasons, so yeah.
The COVID delay, and because of the kind of show that it took so long to film this 3rd season to get it out, that there's part of me that wants to go back and watch it from the beginning to go all the way through, because I remember it, but I do also remember that show is epically bingeable. The episodes are long.
It's okay.
But
it's definitely I would say watch it with your kids. It's not. I don't love it. I like it. I enjoy it, but I don't love it.
See, I really.
I actually think that this is one Andrew would not watch. You could watch a few episodes.
Actually,
but I watched.
I watched actually probably the first half, but I was just there's just too much out there for me to keep up with this. But my friend,
it's very
Matt, Matt, you guys know him. He loves that show. So
yeah.
Okay, so here's this is the interesting thing that I think that why Andrew, you might actually dig it, and I want to say try and get through the first season and into the second season. The story behind Robbie the robot that they get, and when you find out what happens with the deep space aliens and where it all comes from and what's going on, I think there's some stuff in there
that's really not until season 3 though.
Oh god.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's a real slow burn in that regard. And it's one of those shows where it's just we keep putting this family in danger because we need to show how much they like each other, and X, Y, and Z, and it makes for a fun story. And again, kind of like watching old with your kids, your kids enjoy it, so you watch it. And if you have kids, the things that you can kind of live with kind of comes down a notch, right?
I'll give you that. Yeah.
So the first time I watched it, the first 2 seasons were fine. I was not in love with it, but I enjoyed it. I didn't have to turn it off. And yeah, so when I get to season 3, I know I started season 3, but I didn't get very far. So now that I have an excuse to finish it, with my boys, I will.
I get that.
But what I was going to say,
sorry,
before we went down Lost in Space road is that when I was watching it with my kids, I was flipping through Netflix, and Netflix is usually pretty good about suggesting a new show to me that I'll at least find interesting. And so the one that popped up was a show called Echoes. I can't decide if it's good or not. I've watched 2 episodes. It feels like it should be better than it is. But the premise is that there's 2 twin women, grown women, and right out of the gate, one of them goes missing. And what you find out through the first episode is that throughout their lives, for reasons, they have switched lives with each other repeatedly. Like every now and then on their birthday, they're like, "Okay, well, it's your turn to be me, and I'll be you." But it's like a mystery. Like, why did this sister disappear? Nobody knows why she's gone. So the one that's still around is trying to figure it out. So it's at least a cool concept. The acting seems good. I can't pinpoint if it's the acting or the writing or even the directing that's just a little off. That's not quite landing.
Right.
So it's only 7 episodes, so I'll probably just watch it all. Like if I got through 2 episodes one night, like that's the thing about bingeable television is that you can watch it pretty quickly, and then when you can just get through it. If you don't have anything else to watch, that's the thing, is like I'm looking for stuff to watch. With my son, who I said, it has a tendency to be difficult. I watched Haunting of Hill House with him, and we're watching Bly Manor now. So like he is more into horror than his brothers are. So that's cool. Like I've been on a real horror kind of bend lately with those, with Black Phone, with I feel like there was something else that I watched recently. I'm still not sure if it's something I would actually recommend. The concept is cool, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure on the delivery yet.
All right. So that's a maybe on that one for a recommendation,
for sure.
will. So I guess Kevin's done.
Did he drop?
No. He just got done talking about what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Well, Andy, since you're here, is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we get into She-Hulk?
I will defer. I will pass.
All right, so She-Hulk. I've been waiting to do that for so long. God. Yeah. Okay. She-Hulk. I legitimately, honestly, had forgot it came out. Like we had been talking about it. My daughters and I, like, oh, it's coming out, yay! But then, like I talked earlier, because we had the norovirus run through the house. Thursday hit, and we were all just kind of out. And then we were like, oh wait, She-Hulk came out. Sat down and watched that shit after you guys had gushed about it in group text. Holy good gravy, good golly, Miss Molly. Just aces out of the bank. I think personally also, aside from the early complaints, obviously they cleaned up the CGI. Okay. Mm-hmm. It was like the trailer, obviously that wasn't done. People were like, oh, the CGI looks horrible.
Didn't that leak though? Wasn't that part of the problem, is that the trailer leaked and then they kind of had to just roll with it?
I think that was part. Yes, I believe you're right. I will say, I actually think it's some of the best Hulk, like Smart Hulk CGI that we've seen. In some ways, possibly better than Endgame's. Like Endgame's was great, but like all the stuff that they're doing when he's telling her the stuff in the bar, when he's got his glasses off, all the emotion on his face, like you really see a lot of Mark Ruffalo in there.
Yes.
Which is cool, because that's because it's supposed to be that balance between, regular Hulk and Bruce Banner. It's cool to see that.
I was watching those not episodes, those frames, and I actually was I was looking at Ruffalo's Hulk as real, comparing like, the CGI on She-Hulk isn't that great, because regular Hulk looked like a person. It looked real. It fantastic. It was super well done. Totally agree.
I think if you look, I think that the trick is that you can mask some of like the smooth skinness with the stubble that he has, and the body hair that he has, it gives the skin some dimension that with her, because her face is so smooth, right? Like it looks a little more fake. I think that's probably something that I don't know how you fix that without, giving her a mustache, right? Like it's weird, but I think that's where, or why his looks so much, better, if you will.
Well,
she's also a much brighter shade of green.
So much brighter.
If you like, it's he's like a more natural Hulk shade,
or gray Hulk, as he's supposed to be.
So I don't know. I liked the CGI on her. I was fine with me. It didn't bug me at all. I thought it was great, and I think we've hit the point where like the CGI, unless it's horribly bad, is all just phenomenal out of Marvel now. Just like with everything we've seen between, especially on the series, like they're dumping movie money into the CGI on this, and I feel bad for the CGI artists. There's been articles about that, about how it's really hard to work on a Marvel film because like they fucking push you, and it's nutty bananas, and people don't like doing it. But it's all great. I thought even her, the way they play the two of them off each other is fucking funny. Jesus.
I liked just even how like you could because I feel for him. I feel like he was, not like hating, but he was.
No, he was.
Dude. Like when like he throws a rock and then she throws a rock and he had to like throw it out into like the atmosphere. I was just like,
well, it was all very much anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
You can't. It's like it was just so natural. Like it was just like it was like brother and sister, but they were like cousins. But it was just like. And you could tell, like, even like he's like, you got to go through this training, and then she's like, dude, like, I got this. Like, it was, man, yeah, I feel like maybe going there or not going there, but like that one controversial comment that's showing
up with these. No, we 100% need to go there. A million %. I'm surprised you guys didn't get there yet. Like, how ridiculous is that when she said that?
Yeah, now okay, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead and say it, because I have a very interesting.
Which one are you talking about?
Where she talks about how basically she has to manage her anger and all the time, because literally if she doesn't, she could physically get killed on a daily basis because us men are a bunch of fucking assholes.
It's not, but that's, but again, you're talking about the female experience, which they cover perfectly when she comes out of that bar and a group of men are a piece of shit. Like, it happens to women all the time. It's like, but and she's not wrong. Like, you have to live with that fear, whether it's justified or not.
No,
it's like, and not to compare, because it's not the same, but when a black family raises their kid and they're like, when you get pulled over, you have to put your hands on the dashboard. Like, you have to think about things that other people don't have to think about in every situation, even if it doesn't apply.
I don't give a shit. Let's call it out. Just straight males, cis males, if you will, mostly cis white males, like don't have to think about. Like, let's be real. Like that. It's.
Wait, hold 10 seconds here. Kevin, totally correct, and I'm on that same exact page. How that whole controversial sentence or paragraph that she said, and people make such a big deal about it, like, I don't understand that, because it is what, I mean, I have a daughter. Pete,
oh no. I'm
So we're all on the same page then. That's
I think the reason it's here's the problem. It isn't that controversial. The people who are making it controversial are the same neckbeards that come out of the woodwork every time something's new and different. And it's just pushing, like, even more than some of the complaints about the women's agenda, or this whole thing. It's like, we're pushing the diversity and include, like, all the stuff that it's like pushing now, and it's all pushing, and it has to be this. And I'm like, no, we're just telling different stories now from a different viewpoint that isn't your viewpoint, that has been every fucking story that's been in media for the last 50 fucking years. So let's just fucking back the truck up there, Henry. Um, yeah, no, so I've actually watched it twice
Nice.
because I watched it once with the little one, and then I watched it once with the whole family. To me, yes, it was a powerful moment. No, it's nothing I haven't heard. You know, people keep talking about, oh, it's the women's empowerment, you know, thing that we're on now, and this and that. No, I think it's just a great story. I think women's empowerment is kind of a thing with that, but I also think that comment in the storyline, and for anybody to get the idea that this is some, like, you know,
Woke
feminist agenda woke show, are the same fucking people that lost their minds about the fucking lesbian kiss in Lightyear.
Yeah.
It's like,
in fact, I would say it's anti woke. Like, it's actually, that's been happening. You know, catcall. We're talking like that. That's not new. Like, there's nothing that she said is like something that's new that's happened. It's not woke. That's reality.
yeah.
That's back of the bus. I mean, that's how women have to figure out with their life all the time.
Navigation, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, so going back to like, you know, I really felt for Banner, because Banner really cares about her, and he wants to make sure that she's going to be fine. And in a lot of ways, and again, I'm not a parent, you guys are all parents, so you get this. It's almost like he has to, like, he wants to make sure that his loved one is ready to go back out into the world. Like, he took care of her, he made sure she's okay, and she keeps, like, she's like, yo, I'm fine, like, I'm gonna drive through you. Like, I'm trying to leave, you know. So and you can tell he actually, it was nice for him. He was lonely, you know. So I think he liked the fact that he had someone to hang out with who he could relate to finally. But she's like, yo, like, I have a life, like, I'm not trying to be like out in the sticks here. I got to get back to my life, and I'm
not going to be a superhero.
Yeah,
like, she's like, I'm a fucking lawyer. I've got student loans to pay.
Yeah,
like, I fucking love all of that.
Yeah, it was just so but it just felt, everything I bought, and like, I was going, I love her character. I think one of the things I'm really loving, Marvel's always gotten it right, but they still keep hitting it out of the park with the casting, because her, like, you know, we can talk about it. Okay, we talked about why am I so bad with names? But Captain Brie Larson versus Miss
Natalie Dormer.
Okay? No, I was gonna say, you know, what's her name? Maslany. What's her name? What's her first name?
Tatiana Maslany.
Thank you, Tatiana Maslany. It's like hand in glove, dude. Like, there's no part of me is like waiting for me to be like into her as a character. Like, she's funny. I totally buy her as kind of being reluctantly being Hulk, but then when she actually starts to control her powers, she's like the shit. So that very last line, like at the post credits, where she goes, "Yes, Captain America," like, that was just so like the delivery and everything. It was just like home run. Like, I'm in love. Like, you are the shit. You're a real person. You had a hangover, you know, even though like your metabolites alcohol faster, and you're just smart. Like, you just are able to hack all the things that it took Bruce years to do, because whatever, like, maybe you had a higher concentration. You guys watched the episode twice. What were the reasons that she can do things a little better than he can? Because there are reasons. Like, it's not just because of like Mary Sue, like, right? Like, there's reasons. I'm asking.
You know, I don't know that they came up. To be fair,
she just no. Well, no, that was part of the joke, and I think like we joked around about it being like, because it's been talked about how it's going to be very almost Ally McBeal-esque. I think you have to look at it and realize that it does kind of set the tone, because what we're talking about, that whole managing my anger, that's what she means. That's why she didn't have to go through 10 years of figuring out how to manage her anger. She's a woman who walks through the world managing her fucking anger. She was built for this. Like, she's like, no, bitch, I got this. Like,
yes,
like that was, you know, that was the kind of the reason behind it. And I appreciate it. I really thought this show is going to be fucking great.
It's going to be amazing.
Like, see, I really.
And what's funny is that I don't love it as much as everybody else. Now, I like it. Let me be perfectly clear. I do. Miss Marvel was better. I think WandaVision is better. I think this is different. Like it's a different tone, and I do
Oh
enjoy it.
yeah.
Like I love her. Like I told you, I loved her before the show even started. Orphan
You
Black
did.
is fucking amazing, and her work on that show is top notch. Like what she does on that show. If you haven't seen that and you like her here, go watch the first like 3 episodes of Orphan Black.
Okay.
Decide if you want to watch the rest or whatever. But what she does and what you see her do just in those first 3 episodes, you'll be like, fuck this girl. Like there's a reason they picked her. She's just amazing. And it's not funny. Like she's not, it's not a comedic
Good.
show at all.
That means she has range.
But her talent level is off the charts. But like, what I'm waiting for is for it to not be the origin story. Like I need the actual show to start. Yeah, we needed the origin story. Yeah, we needed all that stuff, but like it was just another origin story for me. It was fun. We definitely got the characters. Like I get it. Like I liked everything that we saw, but it wasn't better for me than all of the stuff that made Miss Marvel amazing, which was the family, which was all this other stuff that you got out of Miss Marvel. Um, but yeah, I think it's awesome. Like I'm excited to watch the rest of it. I'm just waiting for it to be the show that it's supposed to be, because it's not yet.
Andy, were you gonna say something? Because if you're not, I have something to say. Go for it.
You first. I'm
All
the
right,
last.
cool. One thing I forgot to mention that I also love about it, and I might get a grown out of Kevin, is we got back to being connected to the larger universe. So it's like, seeing like the initials of like TS and BB, that like it just tugged at my heartstrings. Like knowing that Tony worked with him at this. We're talking about Cap, and obviously, so it's like that is what I was waiting for as well. Like there were parts of WandaVision that felt connected to the larger narrative. Like when you saw the security camera of Wanda going in and breaking in and getting Vision's body, that felt back, like it almost felt like that might have been even filmed for Endgame. I think it was actually, but they didn't use it, but they used it for WandaVision. And I feel like this show also feels now a bit more connected to the larger narrative. So that's also, I think, what made me excited. And also, as you know, don't get me wrong, I am not like shitting on Miss Marvel at all. You know how much I love that damn show. But it's like I just feel like this show, for episode 1 to start, I think that strongly and that interwovenly with the rest of the universe. I mean, I'll be shocked if it doesn't get even better from here. So hopefully we finish the origin story with episode 1, and now we're going to see Daredevil, and we're going to see all the other ways that this is going to figure into things. So,
Jessica Jones.
I wish. I'm hoping that happens. I have not heard a single thing to suggest that it's actually going to happen, but I would love that. I fucking love her. Jessica Jones is awesome.
Listen, I will parrot everything Andrew just said. I do feel like almost like finally we're back. I love I loved all of. I didn't. There's not one series that I'm like Moon Knight, all of it. But it's been a year since we've been connected back to the greater MCU. And we had a couple of sprinklings in Miss Marvel. We had maybe a couple of sprinklings in Moon Knight too, but it's been a while since we've been direct, like you said, TS carved in the wood, and we're talking about it and talking about Captain America's virginity. So it's been a while since we've had this direct connection. And I really do feel like this is the series that's going to kind of, like I said in our text string, kind of pull everything back together. Because right now I feel like they just shotgunned. I almost feel, I don't want to say, like DCEU, but it feels like this phase is just like boom. And there's nothing tying it together, but there has to be, right? So I feel like this is the show that's going to start to kind of pull it back together, or at least put a rope around it so that we can kind of see it start to sync up. Because, I mean, if we go back to Shang-Chi, now we know why Bruce Banner was still in Bruce Banner form, right? So they're starting to tie off loose ends. I just feel like this is the show that's going to tie most of them off.
Yeah, I kind of think that's maybe not the case. And the reason I think that, not because I don't think they're going to do a good job with it, but they're building what feels like two separate universes. Like if you look at what they have coming in the next phase, where you have Secret Wars and you have the Kang Dynasty, those are two very different storylines, because one is very mystic and one is very not. And so I don't know. I don't know that they're necessarily going to tie anything together. I don't know that they're committed to doing that right now. It'll be interesting to see if they feel like they have to go that route, because what their end goal, what's on paper as their end goal, is pretty fucking broad. Like it's big. Now, Andrew, did you post the one about what's potentially going to be released at D23?
I don't think that was me, actually.
No, I don't think that was any of us, but that's
Let's see if I can find it real quick. Every major announcement.
While you're looking for that, Kevin, I will share. I will say, I didn't even think about what you just said as even an opportunity, where they would just kind of leave it ambiguous and everything over everywhere, and maybe two separate timelines, or not timelines, but trajectories, and that would be really fucking cool if they did that. Where that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think it's cool, but I think it's dangerous too, because the same, it brings terrifying. Back the same complaint that everybody has, that if it's not too connected, then blah blah blah, right? Like it's still, everything either has to go together, because nobody wants two separate universes. Like realistically, you can have two separate storylines, but it's got to be the same universe. But shit, I can't. Fuck, there was a little infographic that had like all the stuff, because they were talking about potentially we were going to get the Fantastic Four director and cast, potentially, a bunch of those missing projects that weren't announced at the last thing will be announced here. So it was really interesting, but I can't find it now. So
were we done talking about She-Hulk, or did we just
apparently
about her?
I think we all said what we need to say on She-Hulk.
Okay.
For me, I just want the next episode. I want the season to become what it's supposed to be. The origin was great. Like it was fun. It was all that. It was almost a little corny. I think that's where it lost me a little bit. But I think once it becomes the lawyer show, I think I'll be a lot more interested in it.
Cool. Yeah, I just, like I said, I loved it. I see where they're going with it. I get the humor. I think it's going to be funny. She is it. Like I said, it makes me want to go and watch Orphan Black now.
Even like I said, even if you just
amazing.
Watch the 3 episodes before you watch the next episode of She-Hulk, just to get an idea of who she is as an actress. It's not even to fall in love with the show, although I think the especially the first like 2 seasons of it are so creative that you kind of get sucked in.
Nice.
But just to see her as something completely different, like she is totally different than She-Hulk. But she's ridiculously talented.
Nice.
I guess it's great.
Yeah. Well, since we'll just shift gears here, ridiculously, one thing that I remember watching now that I forgot that I could talk about on Amazon Prime. I gotta look at it because I forgot exactly what it's called. God damn it! But it is a Kids in the Hall documentary. Because they just released a new Kids in the Hall season, and it is, if you are even if you're a Kids in the Hall fan, you've already watched this. If you gotta watch it. It's Kids in the Hall Comedy Punks. If you've never watched Kids in the Hall, you're unsure of who Kids in the Hall are, watch this little documentary about them, and you will go back and you will want to ingest everything Kids in the Hall you possibly can. Because this is one of those things where, like, if you're a fan of sketch comedy, you already knew about the Kids in the Hall. It just was like they're right up there with the SCTV, the Saturday Night Live, the Mad TV, all that. Kids in the Hall, though, I don't remember how I was watching it earlier than a lot of people got exposed to it, because I remember seeing Kids in the Hall somehow when it was on like Canadian television before it got bumped to American television, because when it came to America mainly, or when it kind of took a big jump in America, or the revival, and the documentary talks about this, was when Comedy Central, what became Comedy Central, basically would run like Kids in the Hall marathons, where it was just Kids in the Hall all fucking day. But I remember watching it on some channel before that, because all those jokes, like crushing your head, like all of them were fucking amazing. Because I can remember, and because it's before Comedy Central, I remember there's one sketch that's Dave Foley and Kevin, forgive me because I'm forgetting his name now. They do, it's like they're old vaudeville players, and they do a Who's on First bit, and Dave Foley's supposed to be the straight man and just doesn't get what it's going, and he explains, he's like, I'm not gonna bother doing it. You can Google this one and watch it because it's fucking brilliant. I didn't realize, and I didn't think about it in this way, if you really watch it, that show is so gay, and they talk about this, and in a good way though. Not that there's a you know what I mean, like when you say it like that, like it has a connotation. It's not like I'm saying, it's very positive and very forward, especially at a time when it wasn't like that.
Late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah,
right?
and Scott does an amazing job. Like, you don't, in looking at it now, it's not a parody, if you will. It's not a his character, I'm forgetting his name. I just go watch this documentary and go fall in love with the Kids in the Hall. It's one of the, aside from our Andrew, it's probably one of the best things to ever come out of Canada. It's, if you're a fan of sketch comedy, you already know what it is. If you're not, go watch it, because it plays well today. Still, the shit is hilarious. But this documentary, you get to look at genius and how genius comes together to do something amazing. And I always love watching these stories and documentaries about seeing lightning getting caught in a bottle.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see this story, and then to see how they break apart and then come back together. It also, though, I didn't realize one of the big things that did kind of break them apart at the time was Dave Foley going to News Radio. And I loved News Radio.
Yeah, it's an awesome show.
Phenomenal fucking show. There's one of my favorite episodes ever. There's, I don't know, Kevin, if you watched enough of it, I don't know if Andy or Andrew ever watched it in News Radio, is that one episode where they've got to cut the baseball promo, and they listen to it so many times, and they've got to cut it down to like be this exact amount of time, that by the end they're talking about the promo, and it's just like four guys just sitting there, and they just keep going, the crack of the bat, and like they just, each of them has a word that goes, and it's it's just a phenomenal bit of comedy. It also was one of the first, it's Joe Rogan got his start on News Radio. It was one of the first, like, his really, that was really his first, like, he was doing stand up. This was his first kind of big appearance, as far as I remember it. It also was one of the first shows that I ever remember where a cast member died and they deal with it on the show. There's a guy, there was the guy, the cast member. Yeah. Well, no, before Phil Hartman, there's another cast member that took his own life, even before Phil Hartman, the whole thing with Phil Hartman's wife. And they have an episode where he dies, and the staff they kill the guy off on the show. Like, in the show, they have him die and have the staff mourn him. It's just really good TV. But yeah, Kids in the Hall, Comedy Punks, it's fucking phenomenal. It's a good documentary too. It's kind of fun. They got a lot of people to talk on it. Jay Baruchel, always a fun time. Lots of Canadians. Mike Myers is all fucking over it. But yeah, Andrew, you were going to ask.
Yeah, I was gonna echo. So basically, like, you sold me on it, because, like, a couple things. Like, I do like documentaries. Like, when you talked about that whole that amusement park that was like, Blood Alley or whatever it was called, like, that shit was amazing. I liked the Woodstock one, Woodstock '99 train wreck. And when you talk about lightning in a bottle, like, that that got me in. And then just growing up in Canada, like I did, like I know some of the more like I think I did all right. I wasn't like Mr. Popular, but I wasn't like some of the more cooler kids, whatever. Like, or at least the kids who like to like make movies and stuff. They were all about the kids in the hall, and they were
Oh
always
yeah.
making jokes about it. So I always felt a little less Canadian because I didn't play hockey and I didn't watch Kids in the Hall. But I'm sure Leah probably remembers Kids in the Hall, and I don't know if Leah watched it, but Leah probably knows. I'll even drop some names: Andy, Matt. Like, she'll know what I'm talking about. Like, they were all about the Kids in the Hall and Red Dwarf and everything else that they fucking liked. But
Red
like,
Dwarf is
Red
awesome.
Dwarf's the
right?
shit.
Yeah, right. So I mean, you guys smell me, right? Yeah, I might give it a go just because I absolutely remember 7th, 8th grade. Like, if they weren't going out, whatever, they were all at someone's house watching Kids in the Hall. So
Yeah. You'll like documentaries then. If you like documentaries like this, you'll love this. It's two. I think I can't. It's a few episodes, but they're like hour chunks, and it's really nice the way they divide it up. But it's just a fun story, and yeah. But Kids in the Hall is such a seminal kind of group now. Like you don't think about it, but those guys have all, like, when you watch them, you'll be like, oh yeah, that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy, and just what they've all gone on to do, even in America, and how they've just touched American media, movies, and TV. It's fucking ridiculous. But it's a good doc to boot. So yeah, that's a definite keeper on Amazon Prime, and Amazon Prime also has a couple things of Kids in the Hall now. I believe they've got the entire Kids in the Hall series, as well as a new season that they've done. I haven't had a chance to watch any of it yet because that's one of those, like, I'm waiting for a day when I can, like, when the family's not home, so I can just binge it all, because I know it's one of those things that I'm going to want to sit there and watch from beginning to end and, like, just consume all of it. So I want that me time for me to do that.
self-care, baby.
Exactly. So yeah, that's a definite additional pick from Pete.
Did Andy talk about what he's watched yet? If he did, I totally missed it, and I apologize.
Andy's been too busy line dancing.
I'll make it quick. I've been actually, like I've shared with you guys, I've been going like old school. I've been going like Tango and Cash,
Okay.
and like the early, very early '90s, late '80s, like where the music comes on and it's all synthesizer. It's like it's just fun. It's just stupid. And I remember like going to like the warehouse and going to go pick out that video we're gonna watch on a Friday night. It's like I've been all in nostalgia like the last 2 or 3 weeks, just watching old ass stupid movies that, to Kevin's point, are totally lame, but it's like they were so cool 25 years ago, 35 years ago, probably. It's been fun. That's what I've been like digging on the last like 2 or 3 weeks.
I got a couple for you to add to your list then that you probably haven't thought about.
Do it.
Cuffs, you need to add to your list if you haven't watched it, with Christian Slater.
No, I'll put it on.
Cuffs, a different one. Buckaroo Banzai with Peter Weller. I know everybody is like, every time I bring that up, people say that those are definitely, but this one is a little more into the 2000s, I believe, but it is also a 90s movie, but it doesn't get a lot of play. The Christian Slater vehicle, Mobsters.
I love that. That's a great show. Great movie. Patrick Dempsey. Who else is in that?
Richard Grieco.
That's right. It's Grieco, Dempsey. Yeah, that's a great. It's
Grieco, Dempsey, Costas Mandalore. I'm not even looking at IMDb. It's got Sherilyn Finn.
Yeah,
is in it.
That's a great one.
It's just a fun, like, gangster movie, like little mobster flick. There's a bunch of goofy movies from that era that I do look at, like, with a lot of reverence and kind of nostalgia. There's a bunch of them though that just don't hold
Pump
up.
up the volume.
Classic.
Yeah, there's ones that are horrible. Yeah.
Gleaming
Yeah.
the Cube.
Oh God.
What's
That
the
movie was horrible
BMX
when it
one?
was
Well, no.
Rad.
What's the? Yes, Rad.
Um,
Garbage, total garbage, but fun to
yeah,
watch.
there's a couple of those. Oh yeah. You gotta go and watch the Emilio Estevez, Charlie Sheen masterpiece Men at Work.
That's
Now there's another. This is one of my favorites, and I'm actually going to Kevin's justwatch.com to find out if I can stream this son of a bitch anywhere. 1988's movie. No, I can only rent it. Oh no, okay, so I can rent it or buy it on Apple Plus, Amazon, Google Play, all the Redbox direct. Okay, so you can rent it. You can't. It's not available.
But what is it?
It is called Feds.
I've heard of Feds.
It
I don't
is
know.
with Rebecca De Mornay,
oh
Mary Gross, and they are. It is okay. It's just a goofy, fun buddy cop movie. Rebecca De Mornay is the muscle.
Dubournay. Sorry.
The other one is the more scholarly of the two, and they are both in the FBI training program. It's just a fun look at Quantico and the program and these two women. It's a fun movie. It is super typical of like the buddy cop movies of the era. It's nothing special except the fact that it's two women and it's a fun twist with the FBI. You know, we did watch the other day just randomly, and I forgot actually. It's billed as a comedy, but it's kind of a deep movie. You got to watch. It was on, so Christy and I watched Private Benjamin with Goldie Hawn.
Yeah, that's
Very
actually
funny movie, but Private Benjamin also takes a very serious kind of turn after she leaves the military and goes to marry the French dude and all that. Like, it's definitely a fun one worth watching, at least in my opinion. God, I'm trying to think of any more of those fun 80 movies that you could like that I just haven't thought about in forever and a day.
Well, I was browsing Amazon Prime. I saw a movie called Life Force. It was like from 1985. It's a horror film about like I guess space vampires or some shit. So I might watch that, but it was just so funny how I remember back in the 90s when I'd see movies from the 70s, I'd be like, this looks so old. You know, how can anybody watch this? And now I'm looking at movies from the 80s like that I'm not familiar with, and I'm seeing these like stock explosions and these stock noises and like it's just like like I can watch it, but I have to kind of just like, okay, you're just gonna like lower your expectations.
Well, that's like I watched Alien for the first time in forever. Like I honestly don't even remember having watched Alien before. Like I know I've seen it, but I don't remember. And it's interesting because it's an excellent movie, but the pacing is completely different than today's pacing. Like it's actually a pretty slow movie.
It's incredibly
slow. Compared to what you watch. Like if you watch Event Horizon, which is one of my favorite more modern horror films. And that is much quicker paced than Alien. Alien's a better movie for sure. But it's definitely the pace is completely different.
I think the pacing in Alien is I think even the pacing was slow back then on purpose. I think the pacing in that is what is so much what helps build the tension for Alien that I fucking love it.
Hey, you know what though? It doesn't anymore because we live in the cell phone age. Like if you don't put your phone down and watch the movie, your natural instinct now is like, if there's nothing happening, pick up my phone. I'll watch it when something happens. So you actually lose the movie. You lose that tension. You lose because it's a claustrophobic movie, right? Like the whole point of the movie is you're stuck on this ship. You can't get out. And so like if
Alien,
you don't,
Alien should be watched at night with all the lights off, your phone down, and just the bright ass screen and you on your couch watching that movie. It's a master class in horror in such a simplistic way. Like it's really everything that he does. I love like almost all the Alien.
Alien itself is hard for me to classify as horror necessarily.
It's not
sci-fi.
It's
it's
sci-fi
a thriller for me. Yeah.
It's a sci-fi thriller. But for Andy, real quick, so 1983's Space Hunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. You can watch it on Tubi. This phenomenal gem uh, stars Peter Strauss. Molly Ringwald is in it. Ernie Hudson is in this movie. Michael Ironside.
I like him.
Deborah Pratt. Like there's a few other movies. It's a classic. Colin Mockery is in it as a guard. He's uncredited for all of our
SNL.
Whose Line Is It Anyway fans. Another amazing Canadian export. Harold Ramis is also the voice on the intercom, uncredited. This was a fun, great movie. It's all just about space bounty hunters and this guy trying to pick up a bounty, and
what's it called again? Say it again.
It is called Space Hunter: Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. It's better than Ice Pirates, which is another brilliant one that's on Amazon Prime. Ice Pirates does not hold up. I watched that recently, and that was just bad. Oh, Gord was it bad? Oh yeah, Battle Beyond the Stars, I believe, is on Amazon Prime too, and that shit's from 1980. That's a classic sci-fi that's goofy. That's got Richard Thomas, who we all know is, Walton, George Papard, Robert Vaughn.
I want to say, the director? What's his name from Avatar? Didn't he do that one, or wasn't he involved? Didn't he write the script or something?
Director was Jimmy T. Murakami.
Okay.
And Roger Corman.
Corman, yes.
Uncredited. It's a John Sayles screenplay. Story by Ann Dyer. Huh. But like John Saxon, like all these people, you would completely you go and look at Sybil Danning.
Okay, but I think what's his name scored it. The guy who did Wrath of Khan, James Horner, I think scored Battle Beyond the Stars. I want to say.
I think you may be right. Let me see if I can find it here.
Because I think the music is pretty similar. I could have swore his name. I'm gonna Google it. Hold on.
Well, the nice thing is the cast in this movie. Even though it's a big, it's like there's so much uncredited. So that's fun. Okay, this is getting boring. People listening to this at home now. So but Battle Beyond the Stars it's a great movie. It's fun.
Okay, he did special effects.
Okay.
Future filmmaker James Cameron. All right, keep going.
There's just some good ones for you to watch there if you're feeling old ones.
Nostalgic.
Andy, nostalgia stuff that you just may have never seen before. I mean, you can't go wrong with watching such gems as Short Circuit. Which interestingly enough, I had no idea until very recently that what's his bucket was doing that in brownface.
Indian face, exactly. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Yep. And he was in Hackers as well.
I had no idea. And he's come out and apologized for it, and mea culpa on the whole thing. I had no idea. Looking back now, I saw a clip from it the other day. I was like, how did I not fucking know?
It was the 80s, man. Anything went.
Yeah.
Really.
It did. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, they fucking, although Soul Man came out, and it's like, but at least when that came out, that was the first time actually as a kid that I even learned. Actually, no, I lied. It was Give Me a Break. I learned about blackface. Do you remember the show Give Me a Break?
Oh yeah, Mel Carter.
Yeah.
Oh fuck yes. Give me a break, cause I shall need one.
Kid actually does mammy in blackface, and I'm like, what is it? And I actually heard the N-word for the first time because Mel Carter says that's what he did means. So then I'm like, what does that word mean? I remember I was 5 or 6, but why am I bringing something you said? Yeah, I remember. Yeah, so basically, so when Soul Man came out, it was a big deal. Even though it was the 80s. That was okay, this is a bridge too far. C. Thomas Howell. Why did you agree to this? Radon Chong's in it. It was supposed to be a comedy, but it just.
Every time I try to watch that movie, and when I watch it, try and look at it through the lens of I really tried to feel like the director's goal was to actually make fun of the idea of that rather than it be a serious plot. Because there was a movie that was not I don't want to make a comparison, but in a similar vein, called Just One of the Guys, where the girl,
yes,
you know
no,
what I'm
that's a
saying?
classic though.
There's
Yes.
another one right there. So and that movie was trying to take itself seriously as she was, being a boy on the football team until she's discovered in the end. Like
Yeah.
C. Thomas Howell, like it's there and he's doing it, but I feel like the whole concept behind the movie is so fucking farcically out there anyway that I never felt like it was trying to be serious with it. Like because it is like when you first hear about that movie, by today's standards, you're like, what the fuck?
But it was even cringe then. I remember Entertainment Tonight. Like I remember we'd watch that as a family, like, and we were like the controversy around Soul Man, and it was just like, ugh, like it was just dumb. Like I mean, actually, it's so full circle, dude. So basically, Jojo Rabbit, which we'll talk about next week, apparently, like he started pitching that in 2012 and didn't get picked up till like 2017.
No.
And he even said, it was never a verbal thing, because how do you pitch something verbally and say, oh, I have Hitler and it's like a comedy? Like what? So like you had to send the whole script, have them read it, and then get back to him. But no one was, so it was like, it's the same thing. It's like it all just, it's the delivery of the film is everything. But I'm so glad you brought up Just One of the Guys, because that is a classic. It really is. I think they actually I think it was ahead of its time. And I know a lot of people who are in the LGBT space, or LGBTQ, I should say now, that say that movie kind of like, for some people, like activated some shit, like not activated, but made them realize, I'll get in trouble. It made them realize, wait a minute, I might be gay, like, because when they saw that, so it's a big movie. It's a big movie.
This video made me gay in the 80s, said Andrew 94.
You can keep Jesus, because it was a real moment. Oh man.
Anyway, no need to go on it. Does anybody else have anything non-stupid to say this evening?
This was a fun episode, man.
Because I got plenty more stupid shit to say. This was a good one. Andy, thank you so much for popping in at the end and joining us. Yeah, I muted him. That's right. God, I love that. So speak. No, I'm not gonna.
I love it.
I'm kidding. No, thank you for letting me join in so late. I apologize for joining so late. I missed you guys way too much, as you know from my previous text earlier today.
It's all good. And you know what? It's amazing you've got a great outfit to go with your white van and box of puppies. It's awesome. Yeah, so this was a fun one.
Foam too.
Black foam? What?
Black foam.
Oh, yeah. Well, did you talk about that last week, Kevin? I think you did. Okay, yeah. I gotta watch something about last week. But yeah, so listen, apologize, solve thing. Oh wait, no, that's something we used to do at Chili's back in the day. So yeah. Oh yeah. Subscribe, like, comment, react. Leah MC, hello. It's always fun to see her comments. I like how active and she is in talking. She's a fun one, Andrew. Thank you for bringing her into my life. I like her and Steffi Hill there.
Stephanie.
They're fun. I mean, even though they're from fucking Nova Scotia.
Stephanie.
Oh, they're Canadians?
Fifth grade, baby. 5th grade for Stephanie, 7th grade for Leah, because she didn't go to Brookhouse. She went to Ellendale. Stephanie went to Brookhouse. I'm getting super fucking specific right now. By the way, while I have you guys, who came up with that music? I love when that music starts. Like it's cool music. Who did that shit? What?
Kevin muted himself. I didn't have to mute him.
Neat.
Oh my God.
Our music, our theme song.
Yeah, that.
It was Alex.
Alex, man.
Alex.
Yeah.
Original member. Yeah, that was his jam.
Good job,
And,
man. It
we never
totally
paid him for it.
matches
We didn't buy
logo.
it from him, and we own it now.
Even better.
Yes,
So-
it's under the All Pop No Culture brand.
Yeah.
Should copyright it.
As soon as we start monetizing, we'll have to pay him something.
Wait, really?
I don't know. I'm really not worried about monetizing at this point. I don't think we're cool enough for that.
Never say never.
Hey, you know what? Each episode's going up there. 45 views on the last one. Like I was saying, that's why it's gotten so
3
hard to
days.
do the audio, because it feels like the video's kind of taken off. So I'm just like, I'll release them when I release them.
Hey, video killed the radio star, man.
Yeah, it did. But I've got a face for radio. God damn it. All right. Listen, subscribe. Thank you for watching the whole thing. This is such a ham-fisted way to end this. But, we appreciate you. You're good people. You're good folks. Andy just wiped Cheeto dust on his face or something. And his wife eats it. That's it. Takis.
Mexican
All right.
Cheetos.
You know what, though? If you like Takis, you should check out the Trader Joe's chili lime tortilla curls. I think
they're
they call them. They're hella good. So yeah, you know what? Just fucking get it. I just like, I'm going down that rabbit hole. There's just so much that just Disney wise that's very interesting that we should save for another night once the D23 comes out, because they're talking about like the live action Hercules remake, adaptation, Frozen.
That's
3.
going to be a series, right? Hercules
Yeah.
supposed to be... Well, you heard about that. They gave him like 2 weeks to get into shape for the character.
Crazy.
I'm like, dude, that's Roy Kent. Like, he's not Hercules.
Tron 3. No. Hercules as in like the cartoon, the live
that's
action
right,
version
that's right.
of that.
Who said Tron 3?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nobody
Tron
needs-
3.
Nobody
Is it
needs
happening?
Tron 3.
I want Tron 3.
I want
it
Tron
too.
3. Yeah, so just from the Diz Insider, it talks about 10 projects they expect they'll announce at the D23 Expo. 10 Frozen 3, which only made Pirates of the Caribbean, which has already gotten its tease
With Margot Robbie.
as the new lead.
They need to
Tower
let
of
that series die.
Terror movie. I don't know about that. Cruella 2. No, you know what?
They're-
the first Cruella
They're doing
was
a
actually,
big Thunder Mountain movie also.
the Hercules, like I just said. Let's see, hold on.
They're listing off a bunch of shit that I just don't care about. Like, it's true.
Space Mountain. There's already a script written.
Don't need that.
Shang-Chi 2.
That I
Tron
do
3.
need.
Ah,
Yep. Tentatively titled Tron Ares. We believe Disney will announce the additional cast starring along Morbius himself. Jared Leto is kind of signed on for that. 2 live action remakes that they've talked about discussing are Hunchback of Notre Dame. No, I would love that. That's one that Andrew's supposed to watch first thing. That
did.
movie.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I didn't talk. I think that would be okay. I'm gonna have to listen then.
it's only the very end.
Oh, it's the very beginning.
Oh, did I talk about it in the No, we didn't.
I think I started off at
it's
the very
only
beginning.
Smallville. It's only Smallville, and then we talk about the main stuff, and then it's like you'll have to.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, maybe it's after maybe it's at the end.
What was it?
Bambi as well.
A live action Bambi, like
yeah, why not?
This is the same problem I have like with every announcement that's been like this week. They're like, "Hey, we're doing a Ferris Bueller's Day Off sequel." I'm like, "Fuck
okay,
you."
no. Hold on. Did you read that article?
No. Yeah, I don't give a shit. Fuck you.
No,
Come up with something
not
original.
A sequel. It's not a sequel.
It
It's
is.
a spin-off.
It's not a sequel.
And it's a
stupid.
spin-off, and it sounds interesting. So what they're gonna do is they take the 2 guys that stole Cameron's dad's
Yeah,
Ferrari,
I know what it is.
and it's their day in the car, and
But
what
you're not
they
gonna-
did that whole day.
They're not going to get the same actors. Like, what's
Oh no,
the
because
point?
one of them died in 2013.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, what's the point?
It's
Like,
an
no
interesting
one-
idea.
But no one besides people our age even give a shit.
Yeah,
And
I-
like no
No,
kids are
my-
like,
no, no,
God,
no.
I wonder
My daughter-
That's what
what
they
the
said
fil-"
about Cobra Kai, though.
Yeah, and Cobra Kai
wait,
sucks. Cobra Kai is a fucking turd. Like Cobra Kai is fucking garbage.
No, I love
Um,
Cobra Kai.
See, there you have it.
Another
Cobra Kai
night.
is garbage.
Um,
But like, yeah, there's just so many fucking spin-offs that don't need to happen. And the fact that
totally agree.
it's the guys that did Cobra Kai that are the ones doing this, I'm like,
Yeah.
bye.
yeah,
course it is.
that could be interesting. That'll
Ferris
be
Bueller's Day Off is one of my favorite movies of all time. Should be fucking left alone. Like they even tried to do a series out of Ferris Bueller's Day Off in
yep.
I think it was on
The
NBC or some
90s?
shit. Yeah.
It was in the
Yeah,
90s.
like-
No, I remember it lasted a season.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It was
and
not
well,
good.
no. Here's the. Do you know why?
Why it was not good? Because it was not good.
No, no, not just because it wasn't good. That got rushed when Parker Lewis Can't Lose
I so wish I said
was
something.
a lightweight
yes, dude.
hit on Fox
Yes, I remember
with
that.
Corin
shit.
Nemec. And
Yeah, I love
and
Corin Nemec, dude. Parker Lewis Can't Lose is
Parker
great.
Lewis, it was great. Kubiak, the
Yep.
Coobs. I because that's also that's
But see,
Jerry from ER.
that's fine because that was Ferris
own
Bueller, but
original
It
not.
was its own thing, but it was a
But
knockoff.
it,
Yes,
but it
that's
was.
that's why
I'd rather
they
have
made
a
that Ferris
knockoff than a
Bueller
remake.
series.
And which one lasted?
Fair. I mean,
Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Like
Yes.
it was better, and I would like my biggest argument for any of these things when you remake it, just give it a different, like when they did Father of the Bride. I'm like, just name
Oh,
it
give
something
it a whole
else.
spin.
Just name it something else. Because you don't need the name. You have fucking Andy, what's his face? Like,
Garcia.
yeah, Andy
Alright.
Garcia. You have the cast. You don't need the name. So just come up with
Kevin,
a new
did you
name.
watch the original and the reboot of Battlestar Galactica though? Because I think I always point to the Battlestar Galactica.
I
as
watched the
superior.
original a long time ago,
Okay.
but I don't remember it.
Yeah,
See,
I think the remake of that was actually better than the original.
I've never watched the remake of Battlestar Galactica. I
What?
legit okay, and I will stand by this one. I've heard amazing things about it, but I have such fantastic childhood memories of that original movie and then series. Battlestar Galactica with Starbucks and the Viper
That's
fighters
fine.
and the
Watch it as something
goofy
different, like
helmet.
like it does not have the goofy helmets. Like
it's its own thing.
It is like
But they
Edward
pay
James
homage.
Olmos, like yeah, for sure.
No, Pete, I get it. I'm
frack
totally with
that.
It's
Nice,
100% correct. It is great. It has the nostalgia sprinkled with like experience.
But it's arguably one of the best sci-fi shows ever made.
It's so good.
Like it's
good.
top 5 for sure. Like
and it's a commentary on the war on terror in a lot of ways. Like it
Oh,
really does speak to like what was going on in the world at that time.
and the ending of this one is like the most fucking perfect, like brilliant, genius fucking
Kevin,
ending.
You are
I
the
love it.
only other person I know who thinks highly of it. I
Oh,
loved it
I thought
too.
it was. Oh, I thought it was fucking.
So many people
magnificent.
hated it.
Me,
It makes sense though with the Lost thing.
Me
so.
three.
You liked it too? Yo,
it's perfect.
okay,
Yeah.
Pete. I'm just trying to like. We're not gatekeeping. We're trying to encourage you. Like,
yeah,
I'm just
for
trying
sure.
to give you
Oh
a
no, I'm looking.
Yeah,
I'm
just-
literally
but-
looking right now where I can stream it. It's on
The
Peacock.
thing is, make
apparently, at least
sure. I almost made this
on
mistake.
season 2.
There's a mini series, like a pilot, and then the actual season
Right.
1, episode 1.
Yeah.
So I remember starting season 1, episode 1. I'm like, wait a minute, this can't be the beginning because it's like starting like mid, like shit's already happening. There's a name for it. It's like on mid res or whatever it's called. Anyway, no, watch the mini series first. It's a 2-hour mini series. If you're not
Where
hooked
it's
by
2
that-
episodes. Okay, yeah, no. So there's in 2003. There's one.
They may
season
list
that's
it like that now.
Season 1, episode 1, part 1, and season 1, episode 2, as part 2, and then it has.
I think that's how it kicks off. I think if you watched it when it released, that's not how it kicked off. But I think on
And then
streaming
2000
platforms now they
right.
fixed it.
Got it. Okay, good.
And then in 2004, it's got like 4 seasons. You can
Excellent.
let's see, and you can stream all 4 seasons on Peacock.
Excellent. Cannot wait.
So And Andrew and Kevin, have we, the three of us, ever agreed on something before in totality?
No, dude. And
I
we
don't think
agreed
so.
emphatically, man.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the ending
Emphatically.
is
I love
is
that
perfect.
show, man, so
The whole
much.
Yeah.
show is a masterpiece. It's fucking. The
I
thing
love
about it
the
is that
music. Dermot Cleary.
it never right. It never gets long in the tooth. Like they don't lose themselves in the
Yep.
thing. It's like they had an end game the whole time. You know, you have the final five. You got all that shit, like all the stuff that made that story great. There's no wasted filler or anything.
Nope.
And it's one of
There's no
it's
bullshit episodes. Every episode is important.
and it's a show that was not serialized. Like I thoroughly enjoyed Stargate when I started rewatching that, but that was like serialized television. It was like we're just going to do the shit of the week and go through, right? And there were arcing storylines and stuff that worked. Um, but Battlestar Galactica benefited from being a shorter run. Every season was fewer episodes, and that one feels like they knew this, and this were going to happen. The ending was again fucking brilliant in my opinion. And it got everywhere that it was supposed to do. Like it was great. And when they tried to do a prequel, when they tried to do Caprica, it didn't quite land because I don't think they quite knew what they were doing with that. By the end of Caprica, like I wanted it to get another season. Like I wanted more of Caprica. It just didn't quite work.
Yeah. I actually I saw like when they knew it was being canceled, they kind of made the kind of an extended kind of montage or whatever what the ending was supposed to be, and it was such a could have been I think sequence. Like it was like that's what it was. What I was gonna say though, god damn it, it's gone.
Somebody else talk. I am gonna watch BSG now.
You have to
not a problem.
I just want to go back to the
I
fact
will
that
add to
literally we have never agreed, the three of us. Like Andrew and I, Kevin and Andrew, we've never, the three of us, been like, yes, ever. So
I remember now.
What?
I remember. Okay. So Callie on Battlestar Galactica was actually partners with fucking Allison Mack. So it's like, so
oh, that's right. Yes, in the whole Nexium thing, huh?
Correct. And I like
right
too. So I was like, yo, where do I sign up? Like before they got.
You know what though? Didn't you like Chloe too?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
You probably
like,
you should not have been dating in the
Chloe
2000s.
Sandwich, baby. Like, yo, two
Andrew would have been sucked
girls.
into Nexium like this.
And give me the brand. I'm down. Like, I already intermittent fast anyway. Like, we could do this. All right, that's it. You can keep that shit in. I don't care. But yeah, Callie.
That's actually the now that you bring that up, that's the other thing I have been watching is slowly watching Smallville because of the Talkville podcast, which is really cool to listen to that because it's for both of them really it's their first time watching it since they made it. So their insights on the show is really cool to hear as they go through it. But that's a fun show to watch too. Like the third episode, there's a scene on the football field, and he's talking about how when they were filming that, like the day he went to go film that was 9/11. So like, and being so young and being so naive in the world and all that, he's the same age as all of us. But like, he didn't know what the fuck to do. He's like, I guess I just go to work. He's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And it's filming in Vancouver too. Like it wasn't in the US anyways, but yeah. And so that's one of the things that, Smallville is known for is releasing not long after 9/11, like a month after 9/11. And one of the things that made it work is that it was kind of a feel good superhero show at the time when we needed that.
Yes.
So it's cool. It's very cool to listen. I think Michael Rosenbaum is a fucking amazing podcast host. Like if you ever sit down and listen to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, that podcast is fucking amazing. He is a phenomenal interviewer and he's had some amazing people on there. He's really cool.